Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Halsman. I am the owner and founder of Aromatherapy Sanctuary, and I'm a certified um, aromatherapist. And then I am also an Ayurvedic health and wellness counselor. And most of you know I'm currently in school to get my degree in holistic nutrition. So, what I wanted to share here, this is actually a project that I worked on for one of my classes and it's called a plant-based, more vegetarian leaning meal plan creator for type 2 diabetes prevention. So again, it is plant-based, but not exclusively all plant, as you will see as we go through it. And um, just to talk a little bit about what this is for, um, we are we were asked in our class to come up with something that utilized both math as well as a project that addressed a need for our country or our world or just something that would have an impact on improving health and wellness. The school that I'm going to is um, centered around healthcare. So that's the reason why this was part of that. And so anyway, the topic that I chose was diabetes, specifically type 2. So what is diabetes? It includes type 1, type 2, and gestational diabetes. We're just going to talk about type 2 diabetes for this project. Um, it probably would also be beneficial for gestational diabetes, which can be similar to type 2 diabetes, but for purposes of this, we'll just talk about type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is the most common um, form of diabetes, and it's linked to insulin resistance. And it's related to lifestyle and dietary patterns. And so it's one of the most preventable healthcare issues that we are faced with. And I think there's just a lack of education around how to do that. And so this project is kind of my little brainstorm to find a way to educate people on better, not only prevention, but maintenance. For some of us, myself included, diabetes is something that is just a genetic disposition that we live with. And we can do a lot to impact that through lifestyle and dietary patterns. But that doesn't mean that you are going to necessarily not get diabetes anyway. So I do want to recognize that there is a genetic factor there, and that's something that I personally work on a daily basis because it is very prevalent in um, my father's side of the family. So the global prevalence has been rising rapidly, not just here in America, but all over the world. This is becoming more and more prevalent. And it just highlights the need for prevention and also better care. We're not going to talk about this so much in this presentation, but there is also a cost that comes with these kind of diagnoses. And it's a cost not just for that individual or that individual's family, but also there is an impact on society as well. And so I would encourage you to research that so that you are aware that there is an impact not only individually, but also on communities and the whole world. So prevention starts with our dietary choices and our lifestyle choices. Ayurveda, we talk a lot about lifestyle choices, and that would be things like including movement, maintaining activity levels, not just exercise, but keeping a productive lifestyle. Dietary wise, we want to balance our macronutrients. Those are our protein, carbohydrates, and healthy fats. And depending on how we map out the percentages of those, that can help to support healthy blood sugar levels and weight management. Um, there is evidence plant-based nutrition standards that give us a guide, and this gives us a guide for our daily nutrient intake for optimal health, and we can use those standards to create a diet to help prevent type 2 diabetes. So this is from the Office of Dietary Supplements, and these nutrition standards are the standards that I looked at for this particular presentation, and where a lot of that data comes from in regard to going back to the macronutrients, the percentages of each of those that we're going to use. So why are we focusing on a more plant-based diet? There's a lot of evidence that shows that plant-based diets help to prevent and manage type 2 diabetes. These that you see listed here are just a few of the research references that I found while I was looking. I encourage you to do your own research as well and look these things up. It's important to know where the information comes from. So all of those references, again, will be at the end of the presentation, and I encourage you also to do your own research. Benefits include improved insulin sensitivity, better weight control, and lower inflammation. So, in addition to using this for blood sugar control and type 2 diabetes prevention, the equation that we're going to look at will also help with weight control. So if you are someone who is not necessarily pre-diabetic or diabetic, but maybe just looking to have a better weight control and lower your inflammation, this is also an eating style that would work for you. It's also practical, affordable, and it supports overall well-being. So there's just a lot of, again, research and evidence that indicates that more plant-based eating, and I'm not suggesting that if you eat meat that you cut it out entirely. That is something that, you can look at from your own health standpoint, whether or not it is benefiting you. Personally, meat makes me feel tired and sluggish. And so for myself and my Ayurvedic constitution, it's not the best for me, so I don't eat meat. But that is everyone's personal decision that they need to look at for themselves. However, it is very affordable to eat plant-based, which we're talking about a lot of dried beans, rice, lentils. These things are, dollars on the pound and can be batch cooked. So it is very affordable. And then looking at vegetables, we want to stick with seasonal vegetables from farmers markets, or we have CSAs now that will deliver. And so these make it a more affordable way to have seasonal local vegetables brought to you. And then, of course, there's grains, and we'll talk about all that. So anyway, going back to the research, benefits of a plant-based diet for diabetes prevention. These are just a few references from the research that I did for this project. Jardine et al. 2021 highlight that a whole food plant-based diet can significantly improve insulin sensitivity and help regulate blood sugar and reduce medication needs for many people with type 2 diabetes. So that's showing that you require less medication even if you have diabetes, and it helps to improve and regulate blood sugar. Sorry, that's my dog who thinks she needs to go out ringing the bell. Rosenbacher et al. 2022 found that people following plant-based eating patterns tend to have a lower BMI, healthier body weight, and lower chronic inflammation markers, all of which lower the risk of developing type 2 diabetes or help to manage it more effectively. Improved insulin sensitivity supports better blood sugar control and may reduce dependence on medication. Again, that's from Jardine et al. Lower BMI, plant-based eaters typically have healthier body weights, reducing a major risk factor for type 2 diabetes. Reduced inflammation, plant foods that are rich in fiber, antioxidants, and phytonutrients help lower chronic inflammation linked to insulin resistance. This is a key part here of the equation that we're going to use to determine what we're going to make our meals out of. Fiber-rich plant foods. This is super important. We're not talking about over-processed foods, things that come in boxes, sugar-laden foods. When we're thinking about the plant foods that we are incorporating into our diet, we want to make sure that they are whole foods and that they are filled with fiber. So a whole food plant-based diet is a proven strategy for improving insulin sensitivity, supporting healthy weight, and lowering inflammation for type 2 diabetes prevention and management. And what we want to look at is the macronutrients here. This is going to be the main part that we look at for making up our meals and how those are impacting our blood sugar management. So the three macronutrients are carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids, or our fats. Each plays a vital role in how our body creates and uses energy. Carbohydrates are our main source of quick energy. They directly impact blood glucose levels. Simple carbs will raise our blood sugar faster than complex carbs. Choosing fiber-rich whole food carbs helps slow the sugar absorption, and this stabilizes our blood sugar. Proteins help to slow digestion of the carbohydrates, and this results in more stable blood sugar levels. The protein is essential for tissue repair and maintaining lean body mass, and it can support feelings of fullness and reduce overeating. So a lot of times you'll hear dietitians suggest to diabetics or pre-diabetics that when you're having a snack or a meal that you incorporate a protein with a carbohydrate. Mostly they're talking about snacks because usually when we're having a meal, we are having all of those macronutrients. But it is helpful if you're just having something to snack on, that if you are having crackers, that you have some protein with it, whether that's cheese or a lentil spread, hummus, something like that. But the protein is going to help offset the digestion of the carbohydrates. So that helps to stabilize the blood sugars. And then our lipids or our fats, these provide sustained energy and they help to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. And of course, we want to make sure that we are doing healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, and seeds. Those of you who have listened to the podcast that Devin and I do for Tula Ananda, we talk a lot about taking olive oil shots because we are now at a point where we're, headed towards menopause, we're perimenopausal, we're starting to dry out. And having those healthy fats is super important, not only for, just our skin and how, that feels, but healthy fats also help to slow the gastric emptying. And this, again, is going to help stabilize the blood sugar. So when we're thinking about our lipids, we want them to be balanced. We don't want an excess of unhealthy fats. We don't want saturated fats. We don't want the processed fats, vegetable oils, thinking of things like canola oil, not great for you. But looking at the healthier fats, coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, avocados, all of these have healthy fats that are going to help with our blood sugars, whereas the unhealthy fats can contribute to insulin resistance. So it is important to look at that. There is an app called Chronometer, and I'll put that in the notes. I use this with a lot of my clients because and when we get to the math equation here in a minute, you'll see that it's helpful to have something that does this for you. So the chronometer will show you your percentages of your macronutrients. It will also give you detailed information about the types of fats that you have consumed, and then also your fiber intake, and it goes through all of the micronutrients. So it's super, super helpful if you are looking at any kind of calorie-based or percentage-based eating style. Macronutrient distribution for prevention. Ah, that's a mouthful. So this is the breakdown of how we want to look at our food that we're intaking. So this is the suggested percentage breakdown for diabetes preventive eating or weight loss control. It is based on a 2,000 calorie diet. If you are looking for weight loss, it may be beneficial to figure out your BMR. And the app that I mentioned, you can do all of that on. You don't have to do anything but plug in information. So this one is based on a 2,000 calorie diet, which is approximately 200 grams of carbs or 40 to 45% of your total 2,000 calorie intake. 125 grams of protein, which is approximately, again, going to be 20 to 25% of your daily intake. And then 70 grams of your lipids, your fats, which is approximately 35 to 40% of your 2,000 calorie intake. The key component here is that in addition to these percentages of our macronutrients, we are going to include a minimum of 40 to 50 grams of fiber per day. So this is the key when we're looking at what we're going to build our meals with. We want to make sure that we're getting that fiber as well. So how do you know what to choose? Well, here is a breakdown of what our macronutrients look like. We have 40% carbs here in the white, 25% proteins here in the gray, and then 35% lipids or fats in the black area. So when we are looking at our meals, we want to look at the day as a full day, that 2,000 calorie intake. And we want to create 3 meals plus snacks, and this will equal 40 to 45% carbs plus 20 to 25% protein plus 35 to 40% lipids. And again, that's equal to 100% of our 2,000 calorie diet. And then we're going to add 40 grams of fiber. Or make sure that we have 40 grams of fiber. So this is the equation that we're talking about. And we'll build our own meal system here. So this is super easy. On the slides, I have some lists of food to give us an idea, but of course, that's not an exhaustive list. You have a wide variety of choices, and Google is your friend. So when you're looking at whether it's these charts that I have put together or you're looking at more expansive lists, we want to choose our carbs, our proteins, and healthy fats for 3 full meals for the day. And then we're going to make sure that the macronutrients for each of those is approximately 40% carbs, 25% proteins, 35% lipids. So that's for all 3 meals, again, in that 2,000 calorie intake. And then do your totals equal 100% or around there for daily intake? Do you have 40 to 50 grams of fiber? If you don't, we're going to add snacks to fulfill our daily goals. So if we don't have enough macronutrients in one area, we're going to add some of those. And if we don't have 40 grams of fiber, we're going to add more fiber into our snacks. So for the whole day, 3 meals plus our snacks equals 40 to 45% carbs, 20 to 25% protein, 35 to 40% lipids of that 2,000 calorie diet, plus our 40 grams of fiber. So let's look at some of the charts and kind of walk through how you do this. So carbohydrates, we're going to pick one or more from the following 2 charts to create the carbohydrate portion of our meals. We need 40% for the entire day, so we choose accordingly to create our meals for the whole day to equal 40%. So again, you're just going to look here at this chart or Google if you're looking for broader choices, but you're going to look at the percentages over here for, sorry, my head's covering that up, the daily carb percent. We have brown rice, quinoa, oats, farro, black beans, lentils, chickpeas, sweet potatoes, corn, butternut squash, peas, bell peppers, onions, broccoli, asparagus, all kinds of foods on here. And again, you would want to make sure that these are seasonal, whatever you're choosing. And then approximately how much of each you would use. So we're choosing our carbohydrates for all 3 meals for the day. And then we're going to look at our proteins. We're going to do the same thing here. So for our proteins, we're picking 1 or more for each meal, up to 25% total for the entire day. And then we do the same with our lipids, picking 1 or more for each meal, up to 35% for the entire day. And then we would plug in any additional needs by going back and adding snacks. So snacks could be from any of those lists, depending on what we need. These are some examples of some things that you might have: roasted chickpeas, almonds, hummus and carrots, edamame, chia seeds, trail mix, just some different options that you might have as snacks. And we're going to look at how it breaks down for a full day. So I have chosen my 3 meals for the day. My first meal is going to be my breakfast. I have a quinoa porridge bowl with 1/2 cup cooked quinoa, a tablespoon of almond butter, a cup of mixed berries, and 2 tablespoons of chia seeds sprinkled on. You can see the approximate macros for this meal are down here. And let's look at our next meal. This is our second meal of the day. We have our lunch here. This is a lentil and veggie salad, 1 cup of cooked lentils, 1 cup roasted butternut squash, 1 tablespoon avocado oil drizzled, and 1 cup of mixed greens. And again, we have our approximate macros here, and we'll talk about those all in a second. And then here's our meal number 3 for dinner. We have a tofu stir fry with brown rice and veggies, 1/2 cup cooked brown rice, 8 ounces tofu, 1 cup steamed broccoli and peas, 1 tablespoon avocado oil for cooking. And again, our approximate macros for each, along with our fiber on all of those. So the macros are just the carbs, protein, and fat, but we're including the fiber again because we want to make sure we have at least 40 grams. So our daily macronutrient totals for all 3 meals are listed here. So for our carbs, we have 136 grams. This is under 40%. Our max goal is about 200. Our protein here, we have 56 grams with all our meals. Again, that's under 25%. We were looking for around 125. Fat and lipids, we're at 62 grams. This is also under 35%. We need around 75 grams. And then for fiber, we have reached our goal. So we have 52 grams of fiber. So as we look at our meal plan for the day, we're just going to go back and add balanced snacks to reach our full protein, fat, and carb targets for the day. So these are some suggested snacks that you might add. 2 boiled eggs, 12 grams of protein, 10 grams of fat, 1 carb, protein bar. Typically, they have 15 to 20 grams of protein, depending on the type of protein bar. 8 grams of fat-ish, 20 grams of carbs, again-ish, depending on what type of protein bar. And then yogurt with berries. This could be coconut yogurt or dairy yogurt, depending on what you eat. And same with the protein bar. I would tend to recommend more plant-based, but again, do what your body needs. So yogurt with berries and chia seeds, 12 grams of protein, 9 grams of fat, 32 grams of carbs, approximately. So then we add in our snacks to our full 2000 calorie intake. And these are our total macronutrient and fiber totals with all 3 meals and snacks. For our carbs, we are at 189 grams, which is 38.83% of that 2000 calorie diet. So we're not quite at 40, but we're pretty close. Our protein intake, we are at 95 to 100 grams, depending again on that protein bar, which is 20.03%. So we are right in that window. Our fats and lipids, we have 89 grams, which is 41.14%. So we're just a little bit over, but we are pretty close to our goals for that. Excuse me. So it is important to try to stay within those windows, but it's not going to be exact, just given the nature of food and how different everything is. And so we want to try our best to fall within those parameters, but if we're just a little bit off, that's okay. So our fiber, we actually have 70 grams of fiber now. So we've definitely reached our goal there. And we want to check our math. Here's our equation at the top that we are using for this. And we're going to just check our math, 38.83% carbs plus 20.03% proteins plus 41.14% lipids equals, actually, ironically enough, 100%. And so we have 100% of our 2000 calorie diet fulfilled. We are approximately within our ranges here. We can give ourselves 1 to 2% leadway, either way, low or high on those based on the approximation of foods. And then we have 70 grams of fiber. So we have definitely hit our minimum on our fiber. So we'll go back here just for a moment. You can see how easy it is to just go through and fill that equation. You look at whether or not you're looking at these charts, or perhaps you're just Googling items that you want to incorporate into your meals and determining what their percentages are. Like I said, that Cronometer app makes it super, super easy. And maybe I can pull that up at the end and show you how easy that is to work with. If you want to try the recipes and see how you feel doing a diet that is more plant-based like this, these are the recipes, and I'll include all the slides again in the notes below. But this is the quinoa berry breakfast bowl recipe. And one thing that I do want to mention with these, this one does include cinnamon and ginger. You can always add spices to foods, and the spices we know from our Ayurvedic education, that's going to help with the digestion of the food. And they also contain lots of important nutrients themselves. And so it's really beneficial to get into the habit of just adding spices to the things that you eat, whether that's a churna, like we use on Tula Ananda, or even like a plant-based Parmesan can have some spices in it. And so those are really helpful to add to your meals. Maybe don't add the parm to your breakfast bowl, though. That might not taste good. So again, here's the recipe for the cooling lentil and roasted veggie salad. And then the recipe for the tofu stir fry with brown rice and summer veggies. If you want to try those out, again, you can pull those up in the show notes or pause the video. Some other things I wanted to talk about in regard to this type of eating and just making it accessible. Batch cooking is something that really makes my life a lot easier, and preparing things like grains, legumes, and roasted veggies in advance to make healthy meals easy to assemble. So what I have been doing is actually taking rice, lentils, and dried beans. I have black beans, pinto, chickpeas, and I think maybe one other bean. Um, and I cook a batch of those every week in the Instant Pot. And then I'll use that as the base for my lunches and dinners, or my family eats meat and I don't. So a lot of times that those will be my protein supplement for a meal that maybe my husband is cooking, where he's making chicken and vegetables, and I'm going to add those grains instead of the meat, and maybe add some tofu or something else. So it makes it a lot more accessible. And then for lunches, same thing. I use mason jars and fill them up with grains and then vegetables, greens, protein, and usually a dressing of some sort or sauce. So it's just a little bit easier when you get that batch cooking done, and then you have it for the whole week. Another important thing to mention is that there is something, there's research that shows that resistant starches form when we cook and cool some of these things like potatoes and rice. And so that resistant starch actually works as a fiber in the body and helps to reduce the sugar, to maintain the blood sugar levels a little bit more. So that's something else that you might want to look into the research for. It's actually pretty cool that you can do that. And sorry, that was my vacuum. So we also want to make sure that we're reading labels, that we're checking ingredients and nutrition panels, and that we're avoiding hidden sugars and processed fats. So again, just making sure, if you're eating things that are from the farmer's market, that are whole foods, you're not going to have to worry about reading labels as much. But if you are purchasing things from the store, especially convenience items, you want to make sure that you're checking those nutrition panels, that you're looking at the percentages of the carbs, the proteins, the fats, and that we're making sure that there's not hidden sugars and processed foods and fats in there. Portion control, we want to do about 2 to 3 cups per meal is a good standard portion. And you can do that with measuring cups or just eyeball it, estimate your portions, making sure that they align with your macro goals. Um, you can look at this on a plate that you're going to have, like half your plate with vegetables, and then a fourth grains, a fourth protein, and then your lipids, your fats would be on top, drizzled, or on the side. Fiber and hydration, these are extra important when we are talking about diabetes and um, prevention of diabetes. We want to aim again for 40 to 50 grams of fiber daily and drink plenty of water to aid digestion and to help with blood sugar balance. Water does help with that. And so you want to make sure that you are drinking enough water um, to sustain your body. Glycemic load awareness, when you are looking at foods, choosing low glycemic, high fiber foods. This is going to help to stabilize your energy and prevent blood sugar spikes. And you can look those up on Google. You can just find the glycemic index. Some barriers that you might encounter and some simple solutions. So budget concerns. This is something, with families and everything, is a little bit more expensive these days. And so we want to make sure that we are, working within our budget. And so buying affordable staples, and I talked about this a little bit before, like dried rice, beans, lentils, oats, and frozen veggies in bulk. And you don't necessarily have to buy the veggies frozen. That is an option that's going to make things a little more affordable. But you can also buy vegetables in bulk from your farmer or your farmer's market or wherever. You can get local fresh vegetables and you can freeze those yourself so that you have them. And that's going to make it a little more affordable. The dried rice, I think, we pay $20 for like a 20-pound bag of rice. Beans, same, you can get those relatively inexpensive. And you get a large amount, and they're not going to go bad. You're going to be able to store those in the pantry and then cook them when you need them. Time constraints, again, going back to that batch cooking those staples to reduce our daily prep. And then that's going to become maybe the base for some of your meals. We do a lot of Buddha bowls in our house because it's just easier with the different eating styles that we all have. So there'll be that base with rice and then different things to add, like roasted vegetables. There'll be like a meat component, chicken or you know, maybe tofu that day or beans, and then different vegetables that you can add, roasted vegetables. I think I said that. And so you just build whatever components you want into your Buddha bowl, and then we'll use like olive oil or avocado oil to make some sort of a sauce or dressing, or just use those as the dressing with maybe some spices. So that's a nice, easy, it's also a nice way to use up leftover vegetables or leftover scraps of different meals that you've had that you can create a new dish in that Buddha bowl, add some sauce, and it's all suddenly delicious again. Um, and then barrier family preferences, again, using those base meals that everyone can customize. We always have options. If it's a pasta night, the sauce is on the side, and there are different protein options to be added. And vegetables, I like to put my vegetables in my spaghetti. My family likes those on the side. So again, just making things, and it's not really making different meals for everyone, but making it accessible for everyone to build their own meal. And that makes life a lot easier. Some summaries and takeaways before we close out here. Plant-based meal planning can support type 2 diabetes prevention through improved insulin sensitivity, reduced inflammation, and healthier body weight. And our meal creator shows the simplicity and flexibility of mixing and matching whole foods to meet 40% carbs, 25% protein, and 35% healthy fats. While we are hitting our fiber targets, again, that was a minimum of 40, using our math equation to fill the gaps. So we'll go back to our slide. Here's our equation, building 3 meals plus snacks that equal our 45% carbs, 20 to 25% protein, 35 to 40% lipids of our 2,000 calorie diet, and then our minimum of 40 grams of fiber. And sticking within those parameters, you can create delicious, easy meals that are going to, again, help you to maintain your blood sugar levels and prevent, possibly prevent type 2 diabetes. I'm going to put the reference page up here. Again, this is where all the research came from for this project. It is interesting. I do encourage you to check some of those out, and I will put, again, the slides at the end. And I wanted to see if I can show you. I don't know if I can pull up that app on. Um, let's see here. So Chronometer is the app that I was talking about that that you can use that will show you the percentages of all the foods and everything that you eat. I think I know my password. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. Not a spokesperson, not paid. I don't have the paid version, and I just use it a lot with clients because it is a little easier to track things this way. So you'll see you can set your targets on here. This is approximately a 2,000 calorie diet that this is based on right now. And then I have it set to 45% carb or 40% carbs. Um, and then our proteins 25%, and then our lipids at that 35%. So this is what I am using myself. And then it'll show you, it's a little different on the app versus the computer, but it gives you those breakdowns here. You can see how many calories you have remaining for the day, what you've consumed. When you do exercise, you can add that in here and it will adjust that. Um, and then it'll also show you those micronutrients. It'll show you your fiber intake. It gives you a breakdown here of the types of fat that you are eating. And then also something I didn't mention is that it will give you the protein. So there's um, 20 amino acids that we need for our protein, and nine of those are essential. And so this is a way to make sure that you are getting all of those essential amino acids in your protein, which is particularly important if you are doing a plant-based diet, because you do have to combine proteins to make sure that you're getting all of your complete amino acid intake. So yeah, this is the beginning of my day, so there's not a lot on here. I did have uh, a nutrition protein shake that was dairy based, and so that's why you see that saturated fat there. So that's something that I probably want to cut out. But yeah, it's just kind of a neat way. It gives you easy way to look and make sure that you're hitting your targets. Once you set those targets, um, you don't really have to worry about anything other than making sure that you're falling into those on your target charts. So something to consider. I hope that you enjoyed walking through this with me. It was a lot of fun to create this project. I really enjoyed working on it, and I hope that it helps people to find some healthier alternatives in regard to type 2 diabetes and prevention. So, if you are interested in having a consultation with me, I do have a special right now for new clients. It's $175, and that includes two full sessions. The first being your consultation, and then a follow-up meeting, and also creating a 5-month journey plan for you. So, if that's something you're interested in, you can email me at aromatherapy sanctuary info at gmail.com, or you can text me at 937-750-9984. Again, that is 937-750-9984. If you have any questions, drop them below. I would love to hear your feedback and if this is something that you might try to incorporate. So have a great day, guys.